There comes a quiet moment in life when you realize that your worth has never been something you needed to shout about. It was never meant to be proven through endless explanations or desperate attempts to be understood. Your worth has always lived inside the way you carry yourself, the way you respond to the world, and the way you treat your own spirit when no one else is watching. People often believe that respect must be demanded loudly, but the deepest respect is often earned through the quiet language of behavior. The world is always observing, even when it appears not to be looking. People notice the tone of your patience, the dignity in your silence, and the calm strength in the way you move through disappointment. These small choices become lessons to everyone around you. Without a single announcement, you begin teaching people exactly how you expect to be treated. One of the most powerful things a person can do is learn the art of calm silence. Silence is often misunderstood. Many believe silence means weakness or fear, but true silence is not empty. It is full of understanding. When you refuse to argue with every insult, when you choose not to react to every misunderstanding, you are not surrendering your voice. You are protecting your peace. There is great power in a person who does not feel the need to respond to every storm. The world eventually recognizes that someone who guards their peace so carefully must carry something valuable inside them. People who chase every argument slowly lose their dignity because they allow others to pull them into chaos. But the person who stands calmly in their own truth begins to create a quiet boundary. Others learn that your energy is not easily disturbed, and in that stillness, they begin to respect the distance between your calm and their noise. Another quiet behavior that teaches people your worth is the courage to walk away from what does not honor you. Leaving is never easy. The heart often tries to hold on to familiar places, even when those places slowly break it. But there comes a moment when you understand that staying somewhere you are not valued slowly erases pieces of your spirit. Walking away does not always require anger. Sometimes it is simply a gentle decision to choose yourself. When you remove yourself from disrespect, you send a message that your presence is not something to be taken lightly. People begin to understand that your kindness is not permission for mistreatment. Many people remain where they are constantly overlooked because they are afraid of being alone. But solitude has never been the enemy of growth. In many ways, solitude is where dignity is rebuilt. When you choose peace over attachment, the world begins to see that your value is not dependent on anyone's approval. There is also something deeply powerful about consistency. The way you show up every day becomes a silent declaration of who you are. Anyone can behave with grace once or twice, but character is revealed through repetition. When you continue to act with integrity, even when the world becomes careless, people begin to trust the stability of your spirit. Consistency creates a quiet reputation. It tells others that you are not easily shaken by circumstances. Your kindness is not temporary. Your principles are not negotiable. And over time, people begin to understand that your presence carries a certain weight. Another behavior that quietly teaches people your worth is the ability to listen more than you speak. There is wisdom in a person who does not rush to fill every silence with words. Listening shows respect, but it also reveals understanding. When you truly listen, you begin to see people more clearly than they see themselves. Those who listen deeply often notice the hidden truths in a conversation. They hear the pain behind laughter, the insecurity behind arrogance, and the loneliness behind pride. And because they understand these things, they respond with thoughtfulness instead of judgment. People naturally begin to respect those who speak with intention instead of impulse. Words become more powerful when they are chosen carefully. When you do speak, your voice carries weight because it is not wasted on noise. There is also strength in knowing when to say no. Many people struggle with this simple word because they fear disappointing others. But a person who never says no slowly loses control over their own life. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people away. They are lines that protect your peace and preserve your energy. When you begin to say no to what drains you, something remarkable happens. People start recognizing that your time is valuable. They realize that your presence cannot be demanded without consideration. Saying no teaches others that your life is not an open invitation for anyone to take from it endlessly. Another quiet behavior that reveals your worth is self-respect in moments of failure. Life will inevitably place challenges in your path. There will be days when your plans fall apart and moments when the world feels heavier than your strength. But your worth is not determined by the absence of struggle. It is revealed by the grace with which you rise afterward. The person who stands up after disappointment without bitterness carries a certain kind of beauty. They understand that mistakes are not permanent definitions. They become lessons that shape wisdom. And when people witness someone who refuses to be broken by hardship, they begin to see a strength that cannot easily be dismissed. Gratitude is another quiet teacher of worth. A grateful spirit does not ignore difficulty, but it refuses to let darkness become the entire story. Gratitude keeps the heart open even when life becomes complicated. It allows you to see beauty in ordinary moments. When people encounter someone who appreciates life instead of constantly complaining about it, they feel the difference immediately. Gratitude creates a kind of warmth that others are naturally drawn to. It shows that your spirit is rich in ways that material things cannot measure. And perhaps one of the most powerful behaviors of all is the ability to remain kind in a world that often rewards cruelty. Kindness is frequently mistaken for weakness, but true kindness requires extraordinary strength. It takes courage to treat people with compassion when bitterness would be easier. Kindness does not mean allowing people to walk over you. It means choosing humanity even when the world forgets it. The person who remains kind without losing their boundaries becomes something rare in a restless world. People eventually recognize that someone who carries kindness and dignity together possesses a deep inner strength. It is a strength that cannot be manufactured through status or wealth. It is built slowly through the daily decision to remain true to oneself. When all of these behaviors come together, something beautiful begins to happen. You no longer need to convince anyone of your worth. Your life becomes the evidence. Your calm teaches patience. Your boundaries teach respect. Your silence teaches wisdom. Your kindness teaches humanity. The most powerful truth is that people often learn how to treat you by observing how you treat yourself. When you honor your own peace, others begin to see its value. When you protect your time, people understand its importance. When you refuse to chase validation, your confidence becomes unmistakable. There will always be those who misunderstand quiet strength. Some people are more comfortable in loud environments where attention is easily claimed. But true worth has never needed to shout. It moves quietly, steadily, and confidently through the world. Over time, those who once doubted begin to notice the difference. They see that your calm is not weakness. Your silence is not emptiness. Your boundaries are not arrogance. They begin to understand that everything about your behavior carries intention. Life becomes lighter when you stop trying to prove yourself to people who refuse to see your value. Your energy becomes more focused when it is no longer spent chasing recognition. Instead, you begin investing that energy into becoming the most honest version of yourself. And the truth is, the right people will always recognize authenticity. They will see the strength behind your calm. They will appreciate the kindness behind your restraint. They will understand the courage behind your boundaries. Your worth was never meant to be negotiated in crowded rooms or explained through endless words. It is written quietly in the way you live your life every single day. Every moment becomes an opportunity to teach the world something about who you are. The way you respond to disrespect teaches people how far they can go. The way you care for your peace teaches people how valuable your spirit truly is. And eventually, without ever needing to announce it, people begin to understand something powerful about you. They realize that your worth was never something they had the power to define. It was always something you carried within yourself. True confidence appears the day you no longer seek validation from the wrong people. For a long time, many people move through life believing that approval is the key to feeling worthy. They look around and measure their value through the reactions of others. A kind word lifts them up, while a cold response brings them down. Slowly, without realizing it, their sense of self becomes tied to opinions that were never meant to define them. This search for validation often begins quietly. It starts with the hope of being understood, the desire to be appreciated, and the natural human need to belong. There is nothing wrong with wanting to be seen or valued. Every heart longs for connection. But problems arise when this desire becomes a constant need, when every decision begins to revolve around pleasing people who may never truly recognize your worth. Many individuals spend years trying to prove themselves to those who have already decided not to see their value. They adjust their personality, soften their voice, and shrink their presence in order to be accepted. They try harder, give more, and wait patiently for acknowledgement that never fully arrives. Instead of appreciation, they often receive silence, criticism, or indifference. Over time, this pattern becomes exhausting. A person begins to feel invisible even while standing in a crowded room. They may smile on the outside while quietly wondering why their efforts never seem to be enough. The truth is not that they lack value. The truth is that they have been searching for recognition in places where understanding does not exist. There comes a turning point in life when a quiet realization begins to grow. It may arrive after disappointment, after repeated misunderstandings, or after the painful awareness that some people will never see you clearly. At first, this realization feels heavy. It forces you to confront the truth that not everyone will appreciate your heart, your kindness, or your intentions. But within this realization also lies a powerful kind of freedom. When you finally accept that the wrong people cannot validate you, you stop carrying the weight of their opinions. Their approval loses its control over your emotions. You begin to understand that your worth was never meant to be decided by those who refuse to recognize it. True confidence does not appear overnight. It grows slowly, often through moments of reflection and self-discovery. It begins when you start listening to your own voice more than the noise around you. Instead of constantly asking others what they think of you, you begin asking yourself whether you are living in a way that feels honest and meaningful. This shift changes everything. You no longer feel the need to explain every decision or justify every choice. You begin to trust your instincts. The opinions of others may still reach your ears, but they no longer settle in your heart the way they once did. Their judgments pass through your awareness without defining your identity. When you stop seeking validation from the wrong people, your energy returns to you. The energy that was once spent trying to impress others becomes available for growth, creativity, and self-respect. You begin investing time in things that truly matter to you. You nurture your interests, strengthen your values, and build a life that reflects who you really are. Confidence born from self-acceptance carries a different kind of presence. It is calm rather than loud. It does not demand attention, yet it naturally draws respect. People can sense when someone has stopped chasing approval. There is a quiet steadiness in the way they speak, the way they move, and the way they interact with the world. This confidence also transforms relationships. When you are no longer desperate for validation, You stop holding on to connections that drain your spirit. You become more selective about the company you keep. Instead of surrounding yourself with people who constantly question your value, you begin seeking those who appreciate your authenticity. Healthy relationships grow stronger in this environment. Conversations become more honest because they are no longer driven by fear of rejection. You are able to express your thoughts openly without constantly worrying about whether someone will approve. This honesty creates deeper connections with people who respect your truth. Letting go of the need for validation also reveals something important about personal boundaries. When you were seeking approval, it may have been difficult to say no. You may have tolerated disrespect or ignored your own needs in order to maintain acceptance. But once you understand your worth, those patterns begin to fade. You realize that boundaries are not acts of rebellion. They are acts of self-respect. You no longer feel guilty for protecting your time, your energy, or your emotional well-being. The wrong people may misunderstand this change. They may accuse you of becoming distant or difficult, but their reaction often reflects their discomfort with losing control over your attention. True confidence remains steady even in the face of misunderstanding. It does not feel the need to argue or defend itself endlessly. It simply continues walking forward with clarity and purpose. Over time, people begin to recognize the difference between arrogance and self-assurance. Arrogance seeks superiority, while confidence simply stands in quiet acceptance of one's own worth. Another beautiful result of releasing the need for validation is the peace that begins to fill your mind. When you are no longer constantly analyzing how others perceive you, your thoughts become lighter. The endless cycle of self-doubt slowly loses its grip. You spend less time worrying about being liked and more time focusing on living authentically. This peace allows creativity and courage to grow. You feel freer to explore new ideas, take meaningful risks, and express yourself without fear of judgment. Even when mistakes happen, they no longer feel like personal failures. They become part of the learning process rather than evidence of inadequacy. The journey toward this confidence often teaches compassion as well. Once you understand how exhausting it is to seek validation from the wrong people, you begin to see others struggling with the same pattern. Instead of judging them, you recognize the vulnerability behind their behavior. This awareness creates empathy rather than criticism. There will still be moments when doubt whispers quietly in your mind. Old habits do not disappear instantly. Sometimes you may catch yourself wondering whether someone approves of your choices. But the difference now is that these thoughts no longer control you. They pass through your awareness without changing your direction. The day you stop seeking validation from the wrong people is the day your identity begins to feel truly stable. Your confidence no longer depends on applause or recognition. It grows from the simple understanding that your value exists whether others acknowledge it or not. Your presence becomes more genuine because it is no longer shaped by the expectations of others. You speak with honesty rather than hesitation. You move through life with a quiet sense of assurance that does not need constant reassurance. People who encounter this kind of confidence often feel it immediately. It creates an atmosphere of calm and authenticity. Some will respect it, others may feel challenged by it, but its strength remains unchanged. The path toward true confidence is not about becoming perfect or admired by everyone. It is about freeing yourself from the exhausting need to be validated by those who cannot recognize your worth, and choosing instead to live with self-respect, clarity, and quiet strength. Your calm response in difficult moments reveals the depth of your character. Life has a way of presenting situations that test the very core of who we are. These moments often arrive unexpectedly, without warning, and they challenge the patience, wisdom, and emotional strength that we carry inside. Anyone can appear confident and composed when everything is going well, but true character becomes visible when circumstances become uncomfortable, unfair, or emotionally heavy. In moments of tension, people often react quickly. Anger rises, voices become louder, and words are spoken without reflection. When emotions take control, reactions become impulsive, and situations that could have been handled with clarity often turn into conflicts filled with regret. Many individuals later wish they had paused, breathed, and responded differently. But in the heat of a difficult moment, that level of self-control is not always easy to reach. A calm response does not mean the absence of emotion. It does not mean that a person does not feel hurt, disappointment, or frustration. Instead, it reflects a deeper understanding of emotional balance. A calm person still experiences strong feelings, but they do not allow those feelings to control their actions. They recognize that reactions shaped by anger often create consequences that last far longer than the moment itself. When someone responds calmly during tension, it immediately changes the energy of the situation. While others may expect confrontation, they are met with composure instead. This calmness can feel surprising to those who are used to emotional reactions. It shows that the person is not easily pulled into chaos or provoked into unnecessary arguments. Calmness in difficult situations is often built through experience. It grows through moments of reflection, through lessons learned from past mistakes, and through the realization that not every battle deserves a reaction. Many people discover over time that protecting their peace is far more valuable than proving a point in every disagreement. When a person learns to pause before reacting, they begin to see situations more clearly. They notice the emotions behind other people's words. They recognize when someone is speaking from pain, insecurity, or misunderstanding. This awareness allows them to respond thoughtfully instead of defensively. There is also a quiet strength in someone who refuses to allow negativity to dictate their behavior. Difficult situations often reveal how much control a person truly has over themselves. Anyone can be kind when treated with kindness. But the ability to remain respectful, even when faced with rudeness, shows a level of maturity that cannot be easily taught. People often underestimate the power of calmness. They mistake it for passivity or weakness, assuming that someone who does not react aggressively must lack confidence. In reality, calmness often requires far more strength than anger. It takes discipline to hold back harsh words. It takes wisdom to understand that not every insult deserves a response. A calm response also protects relationships. When emotions escalate quickly, misunderstandings grow deeper and communication breaks down. Words spoken in anger can damage trust and create wounds that take a long time to heal. But when someone chooses calmness, they create space for understanding instead of conflict. This approach does not mean allowing others to treat you unfairly. Calmness does not remove the importance of boundaries. A person can be calm while still being firm. They can express their thoughts clearly without raising their voice or losing control of their emotions. This balance allows them to protect their dignity while maintaining respect for others. There are moments in life when calmness becomes a powerful form of leadership. In workplaces, families, and communities, people naturally look toward those who remain steady during challenges. A calm individual often becomes a source of reassurance for others. Their presence signals that problems can be faced with patience and clarity rather than panic. This quality is especially important during times of conflict. When emotions are running high, a calm voice can guide a conversation back toward reason. Instead of adding more tension to the situation, they offer stability. Their response reminds others that solutions are easier to find when people listen instead of react. Calmness also reflects self-awareness. A person who understands their own emotions is better able to manage them. They recognize the signs of rising frustration and choose to slow down rather than allowing those feelings to take control. This awareness helps them maintain clarity even when others around them are losing their composure. Over time, people begin to notice this quality. They see that certain individuals remain balanced in situations that would easily overwhelm others. This reliability builds trust. People feel more comfortable sharing concerns and discussing problems with someone who approaches challenges thoughtfully. A calm response also shows confidence. Someone who is secure in themselves does not feel the need to defend every criticism or react to every negative comment. They understand that their worth is not defined by someone else's opinion. This confidence allows them to remain composed even when others attempt to provoke a reaction. Difficult moments are unavoidable in life. Conflicts arise, misunderstandings occur, and unexpected challenges appear. What truly defines a person is not the presence of these challenges, but the way they choose to respond to them. A calm response reveals patience, emotional intelligence, and respect for both oneself and others. The ability to remain calm also protects personal well-being. Constant emotional reactions create stress and exhaustion. When a person learns to step back and approach situations with a clear mind, they preserve their mental and emotional energy. This balance allows them to face life's challenges without becoming overwhelmed. Many people who develop this calm strength do so after experiencing moments where they reacted differently. They remember situations where anger made things worse or where impulsive words caused regret. Those experiences become lessons that guide future behavior. With time, they begin choosing peace over unnecessary conflict. This calm presence often influences others as well. When people see someone responding thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally, it encourages them to reflect on their own behavior. Calmness can spread quietly through a group, changing the tone of conversations and encouraging more respectful communication. Your calm response during difficult moments becomes a silent message about the kind of person you are. It tells others that you value understanding over chaos and dignity over impulse. It shows that your character is not easily shaken by temporary storms. Life will continue to present situations that challenge patience and emotional strength. Each moment becomes an opportunity to choose how you respond. Some will react quickly and allow emotions to control them, while others will pause, breathe, and respond with calm awareness. The difference between these reactions reveals something powerful about character. In the middle of difficulty, when emotions rise and tension fills the air, the person who remains calm demonstrates a quiet strength that cannot be easily ignored. The more you respect yourself, the less you feel the need to prove yourself to anyone. Many people spend a large portion of their lives trying to show others that they are worthy, capable, intelligent, or deserving of appreciation. They explain their choices, defend their decisions, and search for approval in the eyes of people around them. Sometimes this effort becomes so constant that it quietly drains their peace. Instead of living freely, they begin living in response to other people's opinions. This pattern often begins early in life. From childhood, many individuals are taught to seek praise, recognition, and acceptance. Compliments make them feel proud, while criticism can make them question their value. Over time, this desire for approval becomes deeply rooted. People grow accustomed to measuring their worth through the reactions of others. If they receive validation, they feel confident. If they face doubt or disapproval, their confidence begins to fade. The problem with this approach is that the world is filled with different opinions, perspectives, and expectations. It is impossible to satisfy everyone. No matter how carefully someone behaves, there will always be individuals who misunderstand them, disagree with them, or simply fail to recognize their efforts. When a person constantly tries to prove themselves to everyone, they enter an endless cycle that never truly provides peace. Self-respect begins to change this cycle. It is a quiet but powerful understanding that your worth does not depend on applause. When someone truly respects themselves, they no longer feel the same pressure to convince others of their value. They recognize that their character, intentions, and actions already speak for them. Instead of chasing validation, they focus on living honestly. A person who respects themselves becomes comfortable with their own identity. They no longer feel the need to reshape their personality in order to be accepted. They understand their strengths and acknowledge their imperfections without allowing those imperfections to define them. This self-awareness creates a stable sense of confidence that is not easily shaken by criticism. Self-respect also encourages honesty. When people are constantly trying to prove themselves, they may hide parts of their true personality. They may pretend to agree with ideas they do not believe in or remain silent when they want to speak. Their fear of disapproval becomes stronger than their desire for authenticity. But when someone develops deep respect for themselves, this fear begins to fade. They start expressing their thoughts more openly. They become willing to stand by their beliefs even if others disagree. This honesty does not come from arrogance or stubbornness. It comes from the understanding that every individual has the right to their own perspective. A self-respecting person does not expect everyone to agree with them, but they also do not feel the need to apologize for who they are. Another important part of self-respect is the ability to set boundaries. People who lack self-respect often struggle to protect their time and energy. They may say yes to requests that overwhelm them, tolerate behavior that makes them uncomfortable, or remain in situations that slowly damage their peace. Their desire to avoid conflict leads them to sacrifice their own well-being. When self-respect grows stronger, boundaries become clearer. A person begins to recognize when something does not align with their values or emotional health. They become willing to say no when necessary. This decision is not driven by anger but by awareness. They understand that protecting their peace is not selfish but necessary. This change also affects relationships. When someone respects themselves, they naturally attract people who value honesty and mutual respect. At the same time, they become less willing to maintain connections that are built on manipulation, disrespect, or constant criticism. Instead of trying to prove their worth to those who do not appreciate them, they focus on relationships that feel balanced and supportive. Self-respect does not remove kindness or humility. In fact, it often strengthens these qualities. A person who respects themselves does not need to compete for attention or recognition. They can celebrate the achievements of others without feeling threatened. Their confidence allows them to appreciate other people's success while remaining secure in their own journey. There is also a sense of calm that develops when someone stops trying to prove themselves. The mind becomes quieter because it is no longer filled with constant comparisons. Instead of wondering how others judge them, a person begins focusing on personal growth and meaningful goals. This shift creates a deeper sense of purpose. Mistakes also become easier to accept when self-respect is present. People who rely heavily on external validation often fear failure because they believe it will damage their reputation. They may avoid challenges simply to protect their image. But someone who respects themselves understands that mistakes are part of learning. They view setbacks as opportunities for growth rather than evidence of inadequacy. This perspective encourages resilience. Instead of becoming discouraged by difficulties, a self-respecting person continues moving forward. They understand that progress is rarely perfect, and that every experience contributes to personal development. Their confidence comes from persistence rather than perfection. Another effect of self-respect is emotional independence. When people constantly seek approval, their emotions become tied to other people's reactions. A compliment can brighten their entire day, while a single negative comment can leave them feeling discouraged. This dependence creates emotional instability because their mood is controlled by outside influences. A self-respecting individual learns to maintain emotional balance. They appreciate positive feedback, but they do not rely on it to feel valuable. At the same time, criticism does not automatically destroy their confidence. They are able to reflect on feedback thoughtfully, accepting useful insights while ignoring opinions that are unfair or unkind. This independence allows a person to move through life with greater freedom. They make decisions based on their values instead of fear. They pursue goals that genuinely matter to them rather than goals designed to impress others. Their path becomes more authentic because it is guided by personal purpose rather than external pressure. Over time, people begin to notice this quiet confidence. A person who respects themselves carries a different kind of presence. They do not rush to defend every action or explain every choice. Their calm assurance suggests that they trust their own judgment. This presence often commands respect without demanding it. Those who once expected constant explanations may feel surprised by this change. They may ask questions or challenge decisions, but the self-respecting individual responds calmly rather than defensively. Their confidence does not require endless justification because it is rooted in self-understanding. This transformation does not happen instantly. Developing true self-respect often requires reflection, patience, and personal growth. Many people begin this journey after experiencing situations where their efforts to please others left them feeling exhausted or unappreciated. These experiences become lessons that encourage them to look inward rather than outward for validation. Gradually, they begin to rebuild their relationship with themselves. They learn to value their time, protect their energy, and trust their instincts. They treat themselves with the same kindness and fairness that they once offered only to others. Through this process, their sense of worth becomes stronger and more stable. The more someone practices self-respect, the less they feel the urge to prove themselves in conversations, arguments, or social situations. Their focus shifts from convincing others to living authentically. They become comfortable allowing their actions to represent who they are. Life becomes simpler when a person reaches this level of understanding. Instead of constantly seeking approval, they concentrate on growth and meaningful experiences. Their confidence becomes quiet but steady, rooted in the knowledge that their value exists regardless of who recognizes it.